Hi, everybody. It is
funny.
Sandy and Al here with your Friday Night Live. How about that?
First time ever Friday Night Live.
It is.
I thought it'd be an interesting thing to do.
I thought, well, we talked
had
about
an
having a
interesting week.
conversation because
Yeah.
we were just having a conversation. And it was worth perhaps having that conversation with you. So I said, hey, let's go live. And then 20 minutes later, when I got everything ready, including myself, then we were ready.
Well, we did discuss that maybe we try this format because we've done this as a podcast / video blog for a long time, these conversations. And we thought it might just be worth doing a little bit of live.
Definitely.
Right?
So shout out, first of all, to the tunings. I stopped there today, and two funny stories that came from there. So the first one is I had gone out because Katie was out there yesterday taking some drone footage now that the landscaping has all been in and the pool is just looking beautiful. She was saying that as she was crouching down getting all these angles, she thought I would really enjoy it. So I stopped out there today and I did really enjoy it. I took a bunch of pictures, and Jamie got home when I was there. And she said, "You're here." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just came to take pictures." And she's like, "Well, it was really good to see you out at our pool." So that was just very sweet.
Cool.
So thanks, Jamie, for that. Also, the second funny story is that they had their final electrical inspection today. And occasionally those final inspections can be rough or difficult
Tough,
different things that inspectors want. So he had not been there by the time I left. And then Jamie texted me a little bit later saying, well, the electrical inspector showed up, didn't really ask to see much, and mostly asked if the company that built her pool is the same one that's building this pool with like this cat. And she said it was, and then like he gave her the approved sticker. So she texted me saying, like, I don't know what just happened, but we're approved. So that was really fun.
The backstory to that is that inspector had inspected the rough underground and bond inspection and grid inspection at Once Upon a Time, and he had made sure that he stopped to talk to Karen and say, finally a company that knows what they're doing when it comes to grounding and bonding a pool. That was the back of the kind of the setup. They obviously know.
But more, because in his official records, the report that got emailed to us was underground bonding approved. There was a lot of it, and in capital letters. So obviously, yeah.
So, and what that means is we did over and above.
Yeah.
And an inspector loves to see that because they know that their job is being done well if someone is doing extra work.
Right.
Like all of the, and why he even made a note that, and there's so much of it, is that's all extra expense and extra time to do that. But he knows that he doesn't have to question anything else we do because we're proving by the stuff that you don't even see, we're way and above and beyond. How are we going to do what's above ground? Well, to the point where he knows the work enough to not have to go and nitpick and look through everything because we've proven already that we're thorough in what we do.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kyle.
So it was kind of fun.
You got it. Do you see it? Yeah.
Sweet.
Yay. Kyle's hooking up the VCR so that we can watch
some old school stuff
every Disney movie ever produced. Yeah.
for research.
On film. Literally VHS.
Well, what's interesting about that is we're currently working on Once Upon a Time, which is Disney-ish themed. And it's very Disney, and there's a lot of Disney parts, but it's really just about theme park and magical and childhood and enchanted and dreaming and scheming.
Disney is really in the business of emotions.
They're
in the business of like surprising and delighting young and old, and that all speaks to our emotions. So it's about
how we feel.
Emotional twinkle.
They're drawing out of us a certain feeling in everything they do.
Yeah, so we're watching every Disney
Well, we have that project, and then the next project is the post-apocalyptic Disney.
Right.
What would Disney look like 1,000 years after the zombie apocalypse?
And I'm already shopping for that one. I have so many clever.
So now
Sorry,
what we have
I'm
to
surprising and delighting myself
Yeah.
because I have so many clever ideas for that and how to go kind of old school, like, well, old school, but like pretending things have been there for 1,000 years.
it takes us to a whole different place where we really haven't dwelt, whatever it is. Dwelt.
That sounds like something a
around-
dwarf would say.
That's true. I dwelt in the past once.
Oh, right. By the way, so Jamie Tuning said, she asked about how we're doing on the Once Upon a Time pool, and then Dan was asking how the projects were going, and I said, well, once upon a time we had like a month to go, perhaps, and then Al had just said that Lazy River, we're going to move the bus out there, and it's going to be a magical fall. And then I got the email this week from the post-apocalyptic theme park that they're ready to get started this fall and finish in the spring. So, like, talk about surprise and delight and magical. Like, we're living in this yummy, magical, anything is possible kind of land, which is so fun. Anyway, that's like part one of the conversation why we thought we'd chat today.
Right. That's sort of the lead-in to
what's
really
happening
what the
now.
conversation is all about.
Yeah.
But that whole idea of post-apocalyptic theme park has allowed me to play again in another realm of my imagination. So while we're doing Once Upon a Time now, that's really just incorporating, we have the grotto we call the Enchanted Cottage because it's very enchanting and very cool. And, so I'm playing in there and all of this, but then I get to shift into now what would that look like 1,000 years later.
Right.
Or-
Also,
which is cool.
Enchanted Cottage, we totally had a brainstorm yesterday at the team meeting for another element of the Enchanted Cottage. That's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, it's already spectacular. And
I know,
it's
but this will just,
I know.
kick it up a notch.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
So why don't we move from, we've talked about project we just finished, project we're working on and almost finished, and of course Lazy River is growing, and I was just explaining to Sandi that the river is longer and cooler, and there's some of the great views. I had this real issue.
I asked if we could take the slide from the second story of the house, which is apparently very tall, and do kind of like the theme park water slide, like down and coast to a lovely stop and plop you in the pool. So
Notice my face.
I don't know. That could be possible. Woo.
Anyway, with that, they continually ask me, well, are we going to do this Infinity Edge? Are we going to do this Infinity Edge? And I've said, I don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Only
love
if it's
to.
right.
The challenge is it's not off of the pool, it's off of the Lazy River. So it has to look just right to make it make sense. And I walked around there today because now the exterior forms for the exterior wall are in, and there's so many cool spots
So guess
to make
what?
it make
Bud
sense.
and Vera, if you ask Al that question again,
Not only that.
you might hear the magical answer that you've been
Not
waiting for.
only that, but then because normally how an Infinity Edge works, a negative edge pool you might have heard it called, is there's one optimal viewing point that allows you to disappear into a lake, so that wetted edge. In this particular case, I even went upstairs on the main level of the house and looking out the main living room window. That view is still there. So we might not only be able to pull off that effect from at pool level, but we might be able to pull it off
in the
at-
house.
in
as
the
well.
house up a whole bunch, which is really cool because absolutely unexpected. I absolutely would not have expected that it would be possible with the way that the lake is really kind of a cool shape. It's a man-made lake. They dug a pond last year, technically a pond. It's like an acre and a half of water. But I think it's all there. I don't know fully exactly how it's going to go. We're going to do it. I don't think there's any question that if I don't do a negative edge on that, I would be disappointed in myself. but I have to move some more dirt out of the way because we've had to excavate so much so I can fully get the grasp of where it's going to be. And then I have a couple other tough decisions that I'm not even going to mention to you or anyone else.
Does any of it have to do with maybe the giant and
no
in the sight
no
line?
that's no I haven't even
suggesting
that's going to work where he works, and it's going to be awesome. I have all the confidence in the world that Darren will pull that off to some extreme coolness.
Yeah.
But I have a couple other feature things that I have to figure out, and it's adding a whole nother layer and level to where my brain has ever gone, which is really good because that keeps me excited, motivated, and trying to figure stuff out. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is I got a whole bunch of figuring to do. And I think I kind of like it. I think I kind of like it. So
okay.
Yeah. So that was just kind of things happening here right now. Pretty cool.
Right. So between yesterday and today, also, I had just been debriefing about the week with Al, and like yesterday when the team meeting was starting, he and I were late for the first time. Well, I mean, you've been late before, but I'm usually here. But we were at one of our pools that we built, and I looked at the time and I thought I have plenty of time to get there. And then Jesse called as the meeting was starting, and I'm like, great, yep, somebody should start making some food. So time flies when you're in a peaceful oasis, and you put your phone down and you just kind of let it go. So between yesterday and today, we have gotten the coolest, I don't want to say strange, but
it's bizarre in a cool way.
In a new cool way. So
almost new. Because we've had hints of everything you're about to say happen, but then to have it kind of go back to back like this was pretty astounding.
So we've done a lot of being vulnerable, putting ourselves and our team on video. We've done a lot of work on like the website, trying to make it speak for us when we're not in the room.
In our certain way.
Who are we? What are we all about? How will you know if you fit with what we're all about? So there is a potential pool client that had met with Al a number of years ago, and for whatever reason, timing wasn't right for them to build the pool then, so they reached back out, and we kind of started at the beginning again with that screening process. So Galena reached out, have you looked at the website lately, gotten kind of updated on the projects we're doing?
Have you watched some videos?
Like, how are you feeling about this, and what are you thinking? And then she took the notes and sent them over to me. And then she always asks on that initial call, she kind of covers where the budget range is currently for projects that we're doing. And she always looks for those cues for fun and quirky, because she knows that if somebody calls or inquires on the website and they say, I just want a pool and it's rectangle and there's really no features that we've become known for, that there's a bunch of really awesome pool companies that do just that. So she knows right away that we send them over to one of our friends and people in the industry that we know and like, and we know they'll do a good job. And then if there's potential there for kind of our version of artistic creations, she'll suggest that they poke around on the website a little more, kind of pick out some of the features that they see in the pools that they really like, and then send us an email with maybe some property photos and things like that. So we got this week we got a potential customer to dream a little more. So when they had first started thinking about a pool, they weren't in the same place, obviously, that they are now. And you likely talked about kind of what kind of a theme or flavor are you looking for, and that really didn't make sense. But as they refreshed their viewing on the website and things like that, like all of a sudden this imagination comes out of this most magical trip they took, and describing, so the email that I got was describing in great detail what all of these elements are and how they felt when they saw them and how they'd like to incorporate this into their project. along with like a family photo, and just like that gives me goosebumps, because it's like an email saying like, we're thinking about this in the way that you've guided us to think about, and kind of here's what we're thinking. And that is magical to me.
Well, that, and also understanding that it's up to us as much as it's up to them to choose each other.
Mm-hmm.
So many contractor situations, it's all about the customer picking, and we're all begging to be chosen as the company to build. And yet in this particular case, we're finding the opposite to be true, in that they're hoping that we'll select them, that we'll be willing to work with them. And I think it's a fine little tweak that changes everything about the integrity of the project.
Yeah.
Because that's saying that they're willing to play in our sandbox, for lack of a better way of describing it, is that they're willing to come to us versus requiring that we go to them. Right. And that changes things.
So piggybacking on that, after the team meeting last week, Al and I had invited a potential pool customer to come meet us, and they met us through not like the normal way, maybe. So it was really important that, because they were introduced to us in a different way, that they really got to know us, or got immersed in kind of who we are and what we're all about. So they came last week. The power had gone out right before they showed up, which, like, the mansion in the dark is like a really quiet, peaceful place. But then, luckily, right after they got here, the power came on, and whoo, like that's crazy. So when they had walked in, I had said, welcome, and we're really glad you came to join us here. And mostly we need to kind of show you what we're all about, to make sure that you're our kind of crazy. And it's not crazy like crazy, but it's crazy.
That's kind of that crazy.
It is, but in a different way. I don't think it is. I think it's our normal. But it's being open to ideas, and being surprised and delighted by like non-normal things, surroundings, environments. They really liked my office furniture, by the way, Darren Baker. You might have another potential creation to make there. So that was really fun, because we get to live in this like parallel universe while people are going about their business, doing their thing with white walls and no artwork on those white walls.
Mention how they communicated with us initially as well.
Right.
They did very much the similar thing. Sent pictures of the family, sent pictures of their dogs, and
the wish list, but open to guidance if it's not the right like wish list to be having for our space and stuff. So like that was crazy.
So I would like to ask anyone else that's in business, if people interview in that way,
if they send their like resume to you as a potential contractor who's going to work with them, and like put their best foot forward with their cover letter and their like it's awesome. It is awesome. So, well, let me add this other part. So today I got an email.
So that was yesterday and the day before and the day before, but now today.
Right, but now today this is way different. So I got an email, and I don't think that we've talked to these people yet, because I looked in the database where Galena and I communicate, because she's the frontline communication with people, and there's not a record yet. So there's a couple that sent over a note saying they would love to be considered to have us work with them and build their pool, and here's their wish list, and they know they have to modify their yard, and here's some photos of the backyard and things. And like that is just crazy cool, because it's a new phenomenon that's happening, and it's kind of I think what we would have hoped our business could become. And here we are, like, seeing all of these ideas of how we thought business could be done, like, happening in front of our eyes.
So I want to jump in there. Many years ago, when we talked about designing our ideal business, life, way of being, developing our certain way, maybe you've heard us talk about that at length.
Or read the book by the same name.
We've known that this was how we wanted to interact. Maybe we didn't know exactly, but we kind of framed it that way, that it's more about us selecting them than it is about them selecting us.
And we wanted
we've
to
had
feel
the way we feel.
Yeah.
And that's been happening more and more, although
to the point where it's kind of blowing my mind.
Not only that, but it's consistent, because we've had it happen a few times, intermittently here and there. Someone interact with us in that way, or much like the apocalyptic pool, them having a card for us when we showed up saying, "Please pick us as a client of yours."
I know.
Things like that.
That's
so those really
delightful.
Cool things have happened.
Yeah.
Of course, it's been a bizarre year
and
anyway.
People
in that way,
bouncing up and down when you go to the pool appointment, and just,
those are all the precursors to the now, and the now. Obviously, this is the new norm, because 3 times in a row now,
I know,
we've had a very similar expression from their end about selecting them for us to do work. Because even one of those, I don't remember which one of them, had said that there's just no one else. We're really fortunate, and it said something about we're really fortunate and blessed to have that you're here in Michigan,
right? That you're even
because
close
there's no one
enough
else. There's no one else
to consider us.
And
that
those
you're
are all those
close
little
enough to consider working with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those are those little things that, while we couldn't have identified exactly what it would be, I know we thought about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
We've thought about what it would look like if we had waiting lists, and we had, and as much as years ago I wanted that, it also scared me a little bit. Like, how could really we get people to wait? We don't have a choice.
Right.
If they want us to select them, they're going to have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think it makes any sense for us to change our business model and change our way
or try to
accommodate more. Because we are going to lose the essence of what we are.
Yeah.
If we just grow it, and we could, and people have heard me say this, we could be 5 times bigger tomorrow. Our company could grow 5 times just like that if we said yes to everything. But then that would take away everything that we are.
Here's what the team has already said too, because like a business person could look at this and say, okay, you have this great problem, just find people to do the pieces that aren't as art intensive or critical. And already, if one of our team members goes out of town, they're on vacation, or they're sent to another job, whether it's past client kind of touch-ups or something like that, anything that happens on the job that day, they feel like they missed out on because they weren't there. So like every member of our team wants to be a part of it every day, and if they go somewhere else, even sometimes for a few hours, and come back and like there's a Winnie the Pooh in the tree, or the patio went in, or something like that, then they're like, oh, where was I? Because I didn't get to do that part. So
I think that comes with ownership, that every person there feels that they're they're instrumental part of the building. So they don't want it to go on. Maybe they're not doing that work, but they're part of that work while they're there. They do.
They really do.
And that, in and of itself, is more important than more work. Because we could get more work. We could find more people. I mean, we could just say yes to a few more things, and we'd have more work, and we know what to do with. And we already do by saying no to everything that doesn't fit us exactly. And I can understand as we're talking, and I'm thinking, if a customer pays enough attention and they've watched enough of us talking about the fact that we turn most phone calls away and we don't do work unless we love it, and all of that, I can see how their approach has had to change. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just coming clear to me all of a sudden. If you wouldn't just talk this way if you called someone out of the phone book.
Right.
But if you paid attention at all, which is what we require, before we'll even do anything with them or for them, we require a bit out of them, a bit of that action. Somebody in one of the people said, I'm glad that you had us recommend that we watch more video, because it got us to think about. So think about this as from a customer end, before we've contracted, before anything else. These comments are coming back to us saying, we're glad that we watched some additional videos because it got us to think on a deeper level
Right.
about why we want a pool and what we want it to do for our family.
Yeah. To the point where,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm giving a little more away, but you'll meet this couple eventually, I think.
Imagine.
I hope. That, they were wanting an oasis in their backyard that felt like a vacation where they could disconnect from all those things, I think, all those like life things and stresses that they're really not the important things, but they happen. So a place where they can go disconnect from that. And they had mentioned, we've traveled, and while we've enjoyed that, we've also realized that some of that, like sometimes traveling, it doesn't go smoothly or it's uncomfortable, and it's taking away from what really we want. We want to spend time with the people that matter. And I think about Dave Gattioli, who in his video explained that so well. And I love, he'll just randomly send us pictures of the hot tub full of kids. And I mean, obviously they're just loving and enjoying it, and not because of it, but because of what they can do and the people they can have in their space. And that's a result of having it, and it being, in this case, their pool entertaining area.
Well, and you went live earlier today and made the comment that we want our pools to look like they've been loved on and used, and there's floaties and there's this and there's that all over all the time.
They had it clean yesterday for Katie to do her drone photos and stuff, and
you got kids that want to just play.
It's awesome.
And that's, if we ever came to take pictures, we want to have to take time to clean up if we're going to take those pictures, because it means it's being used.
Right.
There's plenty of pools out there that are pristine and perfect, and they're very uncomfortable. And that's that whole story of the comfortable couch. Is, as a kid, I remember growing up in an era where you had a formal dining room or living room, and then you had a family room. And in the formal living room, we never had plastic on our furniture, but we had couches you couldn't sit on. That was for guests only. We got to go in the family room. But I do remember going to people's homes, quite a few, that had plastic on their couches. It was only to be sat on by guests.
And I'm sure that was the most uncomfortable room in the house, because
totally uncomfortable.
It was,
I don't even remember. Do you take the plastic off when guests come in or what? But so there's that, and that's what an awful lot of pools are built like today, is to be that pristine and perfect and designed, whatever. And heck no, I want to build a comfy couch, the one we jumped on as kids in the family room. I don't want to build that. I want the thing that on any given day has stuff all over it because kids have been playing hard and having fun, not the one that's always ready for a picture. And that's something that we see, and that was a good example of you today showing up and floaties in the pool and toys. All you were mentioning the kids playing in the spa. And if you notice, there's like toys all the way around the spa because they've obviously been using that as a place to play.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
I love to see that. If there's not towels hanging on draped over the fence and stuff, it makes me sad.
Yeah. Well, so last week at the appointment that we had, the pool appointment, that was really cool for us too, because we got to know this other potential a lot more, and I'm sure we'll be building for them as well. But he just kept saying how much he enjoyed swimming in pools, and that's what he remembers from being a kid. So he really wants to put this entertaining space in for him so that he'll want to spend more time hanging out at home around the pool, and because those are his best memories from childhood.
Well, and he's a self-professed workaholic, and he wants to build an environment
that is so awesome.
So it's more awesome than staying at work. That he wants to be there. And that is
I can relate.
And I'll tell you that the memories thing. That is something that the people that I met 5 years ago, in their email. Now this has all been email. This hasn't been conversation. These people were talking about. So we're talking lengthy, descriptive emails.
You can say a lot.
He made a comment about how I stood out 5 years ago very differently than the other pool contractors that he talked to, because I talked about the memories that were created. Because that's very true. I promise you, everybody watching this, you remember the pool you swam in as a child. You remember going to someone's home. It might have been your own. It might have been your neighbor's pool. You may have gone on a Sunday afternoon with the family to someone's home who had a pool. Those are memories that are bookmarked.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and I can't explain it, but we always talk about bookmarks in our lives as almost like our brain is a series of mailboxes, and we take information and we stick it in these mailboxes, and certain of those mailboxes stick out in our minds. I think probably why our high school years stick out so much. There's certain mailboxes because things change so much. Once you get past high school, like life tends to drone together. There's very little difference between January, February, and June and July. Whereas when you're in high school, it goes from being a sophomore to being a junior to being a senior. So there's like these distinctive moments. But I think the same thing happens, those same things, for whatever reason, with a swimming pool. You know whose pool you swam in. You have the same feelings and emotions. I know I do. I couldn't have added
you
as
just said that, and I remember
there.
being in middle school, and I went to a friend's house, and they had a pool, and I vividly remember.
And it is vivid. And I would never have imagined, as a 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader, being in the pool business. It was not even my radar. I only happened to end up in the pool business because I was off at college and my brother got me a summer job, and he called me up and said, "Get home, you start your job on Monday." And wham. So I never even imagined any of it. And yet, those moments in those pools are as crystal clear today as they were 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And so there's something to that, and I can't explain what it is, but there's something to it. I can't tell you all the lakes I went and swam in. I mean, I kind of, there's a foggy in my mind a beach, and I think it was in Charlevoix or something on Lake Michigan, but I'm not sure. But I can tell you where those pools were.
So I swam in a lot of hotel pools as a kid, but those don't
That's
stick
not the same.
out.
No.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the swim team, but that doesn't really, I mean, I like vaguely remember some of the stuff, but not a ton.
Mm-hmm. There's something magical about the water and the energy around it, and the childhood memories and things, and even adult memories for that matter. But it is pretty cool that we are in an industry that can bookmark someone's brain like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So we're being surprised and delighted every day.
Every day.
It's sad, like when we talk about Once Upon a Time has about a month left to go. Like,
I know.
We're so used to being there all the time, and it'll be sad when we have to go. And it was Wendy Talati's birthday, I think yesterday. So I said, "Happy birthday." And we miss you because like we get to immerse ourselves in different families for this period of time that we're working there, and then we always want to stay connected. It's just time and space and things keep moving and we can't. So, well, why it's important to live in the moment, not try to rush things.
And enjoy the moment and enjoy all of the things that happen. And
not try to get to the future too quickly, which I think I've talked about before in a video, but I'll say it again. So Bud and Vera, Lazy River Acres, they had been planning their pool for a long time, and then they had to get the permits for the house. So they said they wanted a pool, and we knew we could start as soon as the house was starting and get the permits and things. And then there was such a delay, and then it's like they're so excited, they want this. And I might have started thinking, okay, well, we're going to have to speed this up so that we can, keep it moving and be right on top of it. And Bud said one day, he was here at the mansion with us for an event, and he said, we're really excited to get started. Yet, we're really cool with things developing as they need to. There's no need to rush it because we have to enjoy this journey. We can't try to speed it up just because it took so long to get started. And that's a moment that I think will stand out for me for a long time, because I was already self-imposing some of those feelings about maybe being a little more anxious or being spot on so that everything went just according to plan and so timely. Him saying that was just amazing.
Freeing.
Such a fresh moment, fresh perspective that hey, here we are. Let's get into this and let's really enjoy it. So I really appreciated that.
Can I give you a secret about that pool?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's so much of a secret as it is going to be astounding. I'm already the bones of what's there, and it's just this pile of mess that's happened, and bomb blew up. That is going to blow all of our minds.
You said it's going to be magical.
It's going to blow all of our minds.
Yeah. As if what we've done already hasn't been magical, but that's awesome. When every new day can be even more magical than the one before.
So it's happening double for me right now, because it's not often that we're like immersed in two projects at once. We try to mainly be on one, and every part of what's going on Once Upon a Time, I want for myself.
You want to be there.
And every part of what's going on in Lazy River Acres, I want for myself, as memories as well as physical space. And it's really this is a whole another place in my brain, and a whole nother place of my evolved self, and trying to dwell there. And
well, we had a surprise birthday for Zach on the job yesterday. I think he really enjoyed it and wants more of those in the future. But
sure.
Of course, Kevin was there, Sedona was there, their new exchange student was there, and they kind of meandered down as we're having the party because we shouted, and they're just so chill and so easy to be around, and working with people that are just that yummy. That's awesome too.
I reflect back on to decades of being in the pool business, and while most of the work and most of the people were good and nice people, there were some that were, and it's not all their fault.
Not
a lot of it's not as nice,
yeah.
but and I'll take blame and credit for some of that too. But today, having none of that anxiousness around any of those things, and people just loving the experience from start to finish, and letting us love the experience from start to finish, is pinch me magical.
And
beyond pinch me magical.
People that we want to hang out with in our free time, whatever free time is.
It tears me up to think that I have to leave one place to go to another. And much as I love the next place, I long for the last place, and then a year goes by and I'm longing more for that, like you talked about Wendy Talati. I long for that experience again, and now that's well in our past.
And seriously, every time I shop or go anywhere, moose. There are just moose.
See, is that something?
I could buy 50,000 moose
Sanders
items because there's just moose everywhere.
Yeah.
I never knew how many moose there were until I see all the moose everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much we can roll the tape back and back and back and realize all of those relationships that we've built and how amazing they are. And then you roll forward and go, holy schmolies, look what's coming up.
Well, and how much we grew and changed as people during each of those. And as much as the people have grown and changed too. The pool we were at yesterday, their kids are going off to college, and we remember when we were building the pool, he hung around this cute little boy who was in middle school, or maybe not even middle school yet.
Probably
it was just hanging out and wanted to be out there and part of it, and now he's this big football player, and that pool is used for a lot of big football player parties, so crazy fun.
It's crazy cool.
Anyway, I guess this is our long-winded way of saying thank you for being you. You're special just the way you are, just like Mr. Rogers would say, and let's just keep
the fun rolling.
Being magical, a little more magical every day. Anyway, I think that's it for our live Friday.
Yes.
And
I would agree.
Maybe if we have time and space, we'll do this again. If not, just keep watching, because I'm sure we'll keep going live.
We'll keep talking, regardless of what the forum is. We'll keep talking.
Whether or not you're listening. I might too sometimes. Anyway.
I would beg to argue that she had 80% of talk time tonight.
I probably did.
Probably.
I'm very excited.
Yes.
And life is magical.
Which is beautiful.
Right, and I do believe Al's going to just be doing solo lives on the job a lot more too.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for watching.